Tak jo. Přišel nám zajímavý dotaz od kapitána Nicholse, amerického pilota sloužícího tady na Maldenu. Zřejmě si chce procvičit češtinu. No tak to hodně štěstí. Nicméně, kapitána by zajímalo, jak se stavíme k současné krizi. Čímž mě dostává trochu do úzkých. Odpověděla bych, že v everonském rozhlase politiku neřešíme. Jenomže tenhle kurz je den ode dne těžší udržet. A především nemáme ani tušení, co se děje. Stali jsme se cílem invaze? Protože pokud ano, tak to se nám nejspíš moc nelíbí. Tak co, Everone? Jak se k tomu stavíme? Zavolejte mi to na 335 600 855. A pokud voláte z FIA, pamatujte, hoši, že já tu jenom pouštím muziku. Tak žádné bombové výhrušky, prosím.
Oh, wait, what? Okay. Hello, hello. Can you hear us now? It's supposed to be on. All right.
Try it again.
Try again. Okay. Hello, hello, everybody. Yeah, perfect, perfect. Yes. Anyway, as we were saying, welcome. My name is Nillers. I'm the Arma community manager. We were quickly going to just talk about 1.7. We're here to address your guys' comments, questions that you guys have had, obviously, from the update, and we're here to answer them. Obviously, we're going to run through it one more time of everybody. We'll start over here.
Yeah, hey, I'm Klamacz. I'm project lead of Arma Reforger.
Natasha, executive producer of Arma franchise.
Marianne, lead designer of Reforger.
Marcos, aka Bob Murphy, QA manager.
All right. And yeah, we'll get started into this right off the bat. But obviously, like I said, you guys have a lot of questions. If you guys want to have a seat on the couch for a moment, but we're gonna be talking a little bit right off the bat of what were we thinking. Obviously, many of you guys have some complaints releasing this latest update. Very, a few features and so much were broken upon release. So do you guys want to kind of touch on that of why did this happen?
Probably me, right? So 1.6 had multiple issues that we wanted to address with 1.7. Mostly it's about stability on Xbox platform. That was our main focus. There was also a lot of work put into optimization and general stability on all the platforms, bug fixing. So we minimized the amount of extra features and extra content that we are adding to the version. We focused on fixing crashes, making the game run better for you. And as soon as we noticed on experimental version that is actually data supports that it is better, then we decided to put it out. Does it have issues? Yes, it does. Probably it does have few, and we are glad that you are providing the feedback to us and sending those reports to us. We will be patching that version. We will be working on those issues. But it was also very important for us to put this out on public to test those assumptions that we had from experimental to bring a bit better stability to all the platforms and to basically move on.
Yeah. And obviously, some questions that I've seen from the community are definitely related to, coming from 1.6, like you said, there were some issues there. But why is it that this kind of similar situation has happened where we've introduced those features that might be not so great or have been broken a bit?
Well, maybe that's a structural question, right? How do we run our internal kitchen here? And we cannot reveal everything, but internally, it's not the same issue that keeps happening on and on. The pattern that does exist is that, of course, we work on an Infusion engine, which is our internal Bohemia engine, and it's supporting not only our live titles, but also our upcoming titles. And since it's the same foundation, we have to accommodate for that, and we have to update the game with the new versions of the engine, which of course doesn't only bring improvements but also brings instability and brings some stuff that you guys will not even be able to see because it supports the work towards our future, which I know you all are very excited about. We are working on Arma 4, and that has an impact on Arma Reforger, as Arma Reforger is one of the steps towards Arma 4. We know this is not ideal, but we also find it very important to test things and to discuss with you guys controversial things, maybe even through Arma Reforger, to build towards Arma 4 that you will enjoy.
Yeah. I think obviously another big question is like, do we test our own games with these issues when they come up? Like, are we playing our own game? Do we see these issues? I know a lot of people are like, we just kind of put these things out like crazy. But do we play our own game, Klamacz?
Oh, I do. Do you?
Yes.
I actually play on both PC and PS5, and I don't want to brag, but like I didn't have any issues. During experimental, there were some moments when I had problems on PC. Some issues with, let's say, loading the state or restarting the missions, but since update I was playing I don't know, a few days on PS5, and I had basically just the crash which you all know, binoculars crash if you're using 4K screen. That's the one which we didn't catch soon enough, and it unfortunately went public. But there is a workaround. Switch your console to 1080p or 1440 if you can, and that should help. And we already have the fix, which will come in the next patch. So yes, we do play. We do play a lot. A lot of us are active community members, both modders and players. You've probably seen us on experimental servers, but you may also meet some of the devs on public. We are not detached from it, okay? We are basically players just like you. We maybe know a bit more how it works inside. We maybe we are more, involved into development, so we look at things slightly differently. But we are basically the same people as you. We play the game. We love the game. That's why we do it. That's why we keep developing the game, because we love it.
Yeah, we're not. I wouldn't say we're necessarily detached. We understand, what's going on. We hear you guys' feedback, I know I see a few comments about, the general of like that's bullshit, frankly. But in terms of the we don't play, but we are very much ingrained in all that. So I know there's quite a few questions about specific features that we have inside the game. Specifically, obviously, big one is FIA, right? Why of all the things that we wanted to implement into this update, why couldn't we have done, the 100 other things that Reddit or any of these other platforms, talk about? Some say it's completely unnecessary. Like,
Well, so the funny thing about FIA is that we already had the faction inside the game. We had the AI which you could fight in conflict. We had the all the faction elements like uniforms, weapons, some of the vehicles. This all existed. And then if you look at the conflict game mode, it is expected to be encapsulating everything that game has to offer in one playable scenario. So from that perspective, not being able to play FIA is a limitation of conflict. Enabling playable FIA, of course, is difficult from design perspective. We went through multiple months of iterating over it, playtesting it internally, working through the feedback and little kinks of that. I think the idea is great. I think it actually will work out. It is a bit controversial. Some of us predicted that it's gonna be love-hate relation towards it, but I'm fairly optimistic as for how it's gonna evolve. What probably needs to happen is that players, means you, needs to adapt. Basically, it's a new environment. It's more dangerous. It's more difficult. It's probably more realistic. And as war is, it's not fair. So it may feel a bit harder for you, and I'm glad for it. So I'm happy for it. But everyone can have its own opinion, right?
yeah, I mean, yes, I think definitely one other big aspect about, like you said, there's another faction adding it in, it adds more to it. But like some people have also said that adding FIA now means there's fewer people on each side, right? You have 3 factions, and are we planning to do anything to like expand the number of players on official servers, or allowing for that that growth so that there's not as an imbalance when it comes to FIA's involvement?
So we've been always trying to push the player numbers on the servers a bit higher. This depends on the server performance, but server performance is a wide topic. It's not only how much FPS the server machine can produce, but also how much network traffic there is, how much memory consumption there is. So all of those performance indicators, we have to pay attention. We need to optimize each of them separately to be able to actually support more players. We've been running few stress test servers before, you probably know. We had different 64, 128. We've been running 96 on experimental recently. It is still a work in progress topic, basically. One of the next things that's going to happen is that we'll have another stress test server on stable with additional profiling data enabled, which should help us find particular points of those simulation which needs to be optimized to be able to support more people. We are also looking at how can we configure the servers better to be, let's say, to use the hardware more efficiently. That's basically in our plans. You already can see 128 people servers on hosted by community. Probably some of them are enabling FIA players. You have a freedom of choosing how many of those players are allowed to join FIA. And I've seen different versions from like 30 to down to 4. People trying different aspects. I think it's a great thing. That's like a new angle which I've created, and we are still looking for in community as well. We are all looking for different ways how it can affect the gameplay. If you have many FI players, it will have a different effect on the session. If you have just few, it will have a different. You can still play with 0 if you want. But generally speaking, right now we have 48 people player cap on official. We want to get to 64 as soon as technically possible, and then we'll work further from that number.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we're sure that we're looking to like do some reallocation for servers to improve not only the performance but also maybe increasing those number of players that are on servers. So yeah, hopefully something to look forward to in the future for that. But I know another big one that I've seen already mentioned in the chat as well is like the FIA is a troll faction. That it's a that there's like no win condition for them. There's nothing that they could like really have an objective to do. Do you see anything that we want to add in the future that will, help give them something or some direction that they can go towards?
So we've been considering the win condition, and we've been working on some ideas here, though it will take a bit more time before we can really realize them in such way that we are happy with those win conditions. For now, yes, it is a troll faction. There is a value in this, I believe. The value is that if you think about 48 people on the server, there is always like different play styles, right? Some of those like to be playing cooperatively, they want to play with others, they want to communicate. Some of them, they just want to chill, drive around and enjoy the environment. Some of them, they just want to have a quick combat action and move on with their day. So because you have all those different play styles, not everyone is in the same way focused on the teamwork. By having FIA side, which is troll faction, we kind of suggest and invite people which wants to just have a lone wolf gameplay, go join FIA and have your fun. While the real factions, the main factions, they should basically retain people which wants to have a teamwork and follow the objectives. So in some way, by creating the troll faction, we support the play style and create a space for it, and use this to improve the session or game feeling or environment for everyone, making it a bit more dangerous, making it a bit more interesting, especially in the beginning of the match, and isolating those people from being bored and team killing inside your US main base, right?
Yeah, I know that some people even like to take on that faction to negotiate their terms with other factions, like whether you get a vehicle from a lab from the U.S. side or maybe steal some Sylvia RPGs in exchange for helping with get an objective. I've seen that quite a bit actively. I know there's a few in chat I see that have definitely I know will do that most often. But do you actually that gives me a good question of do you see any future idea of giving alliances or friendly sides as an option?
So we were considering this as well. There is a technical possibility, as if you log in as a game master on your own server, you can actually go to the settings and set the alliances between factions or friendliness between factions. You can make whatever settings you want there. But on the other hand, we didn't want to have a easy way to create those alliances in game, because we think that the emergent behavior of people, right? So you're trying to ally or you're trying to do some negotiations with possible enemy. There is always a feeling of mistrust or like possibly of betrayal. Those are interesting aspects of social behaviors. If we just have a switch that it becomes friendly by technology, we kind of remove the human factor from it. It becomes a lot more predictable, it becomes a bit more boring. So I think current state is interesting. We're going to be observing it, of course, if people will find a way how to abuse it. But I find those stories of negotiations and trades to be actually fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, another one on to expand on that. Even I know some people have asked about like are loadouts going to change at all? Because right now you can spawn with a pistol only and kind of like meander the island until you can find a cache or you have your locations, but you can't save any loadouts.
Yeah.
Do we plan on doing any changes with that at all?
So the main tension here is that FIA are the underdogs. It is expected that we are outgunned, outmanned, and it's very difficult. We did consider No, that's fine. He's fine.
Good.
We did consider save loadout function. The thing is that it will probably come with the win condition as it relates to arsenal, availability of this arsenal, supplies, and then some kind of freedom for players to be able to choose and save their loadouts. So we are still considering it. It is not there right now intentionally, just to make it a bit simpler, more rough, more down to the ground, but it is being considered.
I guess a question for either of you: why didn't we just revert with some of the issues that we saw with like FI and all these other features? Why didn't we just revert back for some of the previous changes that might have been less frustrating for people?
Do you mean features or in general the build?
Yeah,
Because,
I guess we could say both maybe in terms of
like, Klamacz is best to say about the features, but I saw some questions about in general like builds on Xbox and PlayStation, why things are unstable there, and there is no simple answer, but partially, for example, we were running Xbox experimental and the numbers there were way better, but of course the attendance there is way smaller, so we cannot get 100% accurate data. Another factor for stability on Xbox and everywhere basically is mods, because mods need time to adapt. As you guys are saying that every update is breaking the mods, we made a deliberate choice with Arma Reforger not to go Arma 3 way with backwards compatibility, because backwards compatibility, yes, it does help modders, but in the end it also makes it impossible for us to experiment and to bring more radical changes, which didn't work for us in the strategy of building Arma Reforger as the road to Arma 4. So we wanted to give you guys more playground to experiment together, and of course that comes at expense of having to break the mods. So unfortunately there is always that space for adapting between a new update drops and modders adapting their mods to it. Experimental could be used as a prerequisite for the modders to do this, but the infrastructure currently forces them to copy their mods and do extra work, which we cannot expect, of course, of people. So a part of the crashes will get lower when modders get up to speed a little bit. With the next update also there were some fixes and stabilizations brought, because the live environment always shows us beta data. Since on experimental we have a couple hundred players and on live we have thousands of players, and we have way broader hardware specifications, screens, bandwidth, different servers, etc. It all affects. We use that data to patch every major update. So we actually appreciate very much when you guys bring feedback to the feedback tracker, when you bring your issues on Discord, when you attach screenshots, when you describe what happened to us, because we can never possibly reproduce everything internally, no matter how much we play test and we try. So from the reverting perspective, there was no reason for us to revert because it looked better. That's TLDR. And we usually try to go forward and improve the situation based on the data we have rather than reverting back. And for the features, I will give the word to Klamacz.
Yeah, I think there were a few moments during experimental when we did consider reverting some of the changes, but eventually the progress needs to be made. It is sometimes painful. It may feel like we don't care, but we do care actually. The technology needs to go forward. Going back is a waste of time, is a waste of resources, is a waste of all the efforts that we already put in. So it's basically we have to force it through, fix what we get, the bugs which we created or found the new ones, and move on. Reverting is the worst possible option in my opinion.
And one of those features that you kind of talked about, and I know a lot of people have some feelings about it, which is the driving or vehicles. Some of those features, why didn't we just hold on to those? And I think we can ask
Yeah.
Mario if you want to get on here. We can swap out here for a second. But
Thanks, Natasha.
yeah, thank you, Natasha, for taking on that. But we want to bring our expert on this subject by asking a very simple question. Why did you mess up driving? It was perfect before. Why'd you do it?
Okay, I'll answer it in a moment. I will quickly address. I've seen in the chat there was a message that it's brave of us to be there. And I wanted to say from my perspective that you guys stick with the game, even though it has its ups and downs. You stick around, you play it. I know the feeling. I play even some other games, of course, where I'm looking up forward some updates, then I'm let down and such. And I wanted to say that all of you guys have my respect for staying with the game, even though it has ups and downs. So that just responds to this. And now, what was the question with the driving?
Why did you specifically? No, okay. Why was driving broken? And because it was perfect before, and as we kind of talked, why couldn't we have just reverted it? But why is it messed up?
Yeah, I can understand why people think that the driving was perfect. Because if you're looking at it just as user, you might not see the issues we see in the code, or you don't see the things we plan to do and we can't. There were several issues in the driving already, and some of them are still existing, but now thanks to the rework we can address them. For instance, there is the issue where if you turn the front wheels, they both turn the same angle, which causes vehicles to behave unnaturally and they slow in the turns, because even in reality they turn at different angles. This was one of the issues we couldn't fix before, because the code for the driving was kind of spaghetti and it was not possible to address this.
Yeah.
So, yes. I know that some people think it was perfect. If you can look into it and plan things, it wasn't.
I mean, some people think we just did it for fun.
But I can promise everyone that for fun, I don't come into the office in the morning, have a coffee and think, how am I gonna do driving terrible for all of you? It's not my day.
So, I mean, I guess, too, can we expand on that? Like, what specifically do you think needed fixed? Or were there certain issues that
there were several issues that we had that we were fixing. And as it sometimes is, they introduced some other issues, shockingly. For instance, we've had the issue with the traction of the vehicle and the ground, where the vehicles could slide down on the ground. We've noticed this, even if you stop the vehicle, you put in the brake and it's on slope, it slides down. And when we started fixing the traction, what started happening was that because in the turn the vehicle had better traction, it was way easy to flip it. While with normal traction, the vehicles would slide a bit, right? So it was one of these issues that led to flipping the vehicles, combined with the fact that we were changing the mass calculation of the vehicle, because it was also, we were unhappy with it because it wasn't completely realistic. And why it felt good was that all the values were adjusted with this being not perfect in the code. So we fixed the mass calculation, and then not on all of the vehicles we changed this mass, which also helped the flipping issue.
Gotcha. And so, like, I guess once we've adjusted everything, and then, applied these things to the rest of everything that's in there, like, how will it be improved compared to the previous model? Like, once it's all said and done, what's the ultimate goal?
Yeah, well, basically the ultimate goal is that it drives and you don't feel like you're out of the control. You feel good when it drives, and basically I would say that when you expect you will drive through something, you can drive it and not flip the vehicle. Like, in general, the design is very thin line of feels, because generally it has to feel good, but how do you describe and how do you put into numbers it feels good, right?
Yeah.
So tweaking this is very difficult process. And yes, in 1.6 it was currently tweaked better, but we are in process of tweaking it. I spent myself yesterday 2 or 3 hours driving around in the vehicles trying to tweak one of the issues that we've seen, which was turning vehicles in the higher speed. So generally we are working on tweaking it.
Yeah, I know some people had mentioned to me specifically about, like, they've narrowed the exact speed in which a lab will flip over something very easily now. Or I think myself, I've had the minibus flip over, going around a corner very easily now. But hopefully all of that will be resolved. Klamacz, any other thoughts on driving in general, or?
Well, I think I've seen a comment somewhere that we are making it more arcade-ish and simple because of the consoles.
Yeah.
And I wanted to relate to this. we never ever had a discussion like this. We never ever simplified anything because of a single platform or a control mechanism. We look at the simulation as a system, mechanical system. We're trying to simulate the cars. We do it from engine down to the tires. All of the elements of the cars are simulated as realistically as possible. And yes, it is a very complex implementation. There's a lot of aspects here which needs to be taken into account. So when we change one of them, then we have to change another, and it creates kind of like avalanche of tweaks and changes, which unfortunately some of you may see as broken in some cases. So we appreciate the feedback, and we are looking for feedback which is precise. This vehicle with that speed on that terrain, that helps us to actually iron out those issues. But if you think that we are just simplifying the things because of one particular platform, this is not what is happening. In fact, we are trying to make it as authentic, as realistic as possible. We are also preparing for future features which we cannot yet announce, and future projects which may use the same technology. So it's all coherent and consistent. We're definitely not doing this just because someone is playing on controller.
Yeah, just because we feel like it, right? Well, thank you for that. I mean, I've been looking at the chat here and seeing a lot of questions, obviously related to cars and desync a little bit. You know, that things are either better or worse in terms of that. Do we have any comments related to how this might be improved in the future, or performance on that in terms, will this help in that way, or is this an entirely different issue?
Well, I can probably, because I'm looking into this a lot due to some other things. But generally, it didn't change between 1.6 and 1.7 because the vehicle simulation related to replication on servers, it's not tied to this. Where the issue with desync comes from is that even small latency, if you go into higher speed, can generate very big differences, and that's where this stems from. In general, in designing networking for vehicles, there are multiple approaches that can happen. For instance, there is one known approach that's used in some racing games in multiplayer, where they simulate everything on the server and then they just replicate the positions to client, which means there is no desync. Everything looks perfect. But once again, this comes with another downside, which is input lag, because you need to send your input to the server. Server needs to calculate it and then it sends the information back. And we are looking into options how to improve either our solution or implement another one, but it's very difficult process. It's probably one of the toughest ones I've been part of, and we can't really promise it will be fixed in XY date, because it's something we are basically developing ourselves and testing.
Yeah, it also depends on physics, replication. A lot of those are engine level implementations, and then on top of that you have assets, configuration of vehicles, and input processing on the game side. So there is multiple layers to the problem, and there are no simple solution. But yeah, we are aware, and there are people that are very talented, skilled people right now. We are sitting out there and trying to make it better.
Yeah.
And I've just seen in chat that the question about vehicle performance was also more about the Arma 4, and probably what I can say about it is that if we manage to improve it in a Reforger, then this will serve as knowledge to Arma 4, and that's probably all I can say towards that, because I'm not part of Arma 4 team. So.
Yeah. Well, I know one, as we kind of already mentioned, there is a lot of questions about performance, a lot of things about, you know, the QA early on. I saw some as well. If we can bring Marcus on, I feel like he's the best one to you know, address this as well.
Oh yeah.
Which then I'm gonna ask some very hard hitting questions with you as well.
Hello.
But first, I just want to ask, like, you know, we've already talked a bit about the idea of, you know, why we put this out, right? Instead of waiting till everything is fixed, or in that regard. But like, when it comes to performance, what are we looking for? Like, in terms of like either KPIs or like what is the standard that we decide?
So, what we are basically mainly looking at is, of course, crash rates and the kick rates we have on basically all the available platforms. Unfortunately, what we do not have is that we have experimental on PlayStation simply due to how the system is set up, which is why we mainly right now have, of course, information from basically PC as well as Xbox. When we then basically look at the quantity of information on basically as a amount of game activations versus crashes, etc. We have basically a very small amount of information actually available, unfortunately, which is why we are in a situation in which we have to try to extrapolate from a basically very small data set what might be the case. What we basically were able to see on especially 1.7 is that the crash rate of basically Xbox and the basically on the experimental was roughly in between 7 and 8 times smaller on what we had on basically 1.6 experimental, which is why we were basically based on this data, we were very much convinced that the performance would be better and the crash rate would be lower. Nevertheless, due to reasons which we do not know fully right now, unfortunately, the crash rate on basically Xbox, as an example, did not really improve, and that's certainly something we have to further look into. So, data.
I mean,
And the data was basically showing it's better, but due to having small amount of data, it's hard to say.
which is why it's so important that we always encourage people to, submit logs, submit, feedback tracker, things like that. That everything, every bit helps to improving the game. It's a win-win for everyone. We not only find things easier with repros and things like that, but I guess the one thing that many people always ask me, do we even test our own updates? Like,
Oh, hell yeah. We have internal playtests which are happening nearly every day, which are running for roughly 2 hours each. Most of those playtests have a certain focus. We are looking into. We have roughly 30-40 people joining for, let's say, 1 to 2 hours each. So normally we have 2 hours of server runtime and roughly 50 hours of player runtime. That's what we have 5 days a week, and of course from there we are also collecting all the logs, client logs, server logs. We are looking at all the performance data, what we can get. And of course, we have other executables, which have more basically details and data rather than the retail executables. So yeah, we certainly are testing in that regard.
and that doesn't even mention all the time that, like we said before, like we play outside of work.
Yeah.
Like, we have a lot of developers and people in our teams that are just playing the game for fun. So it's not even outside our own playtests. There is definitely more data being collected that way.
Yeah. And of course, next to the playtest, we have basically certification checks. We have pre-release tests, release tests, server tests. We have a lot of different specialized tests for certain reasons, which we run at certain times, of course, in the release process. And on top of that, of course, we have basically automated tests as well. And yeah, so basically these automated tests are running partially on every build, partially weekly, partially nightly. So yeah, we have quite a lot of things, processes, and as well as actual manual playtime, which is testing the game in a lot of different facets.
So how, even with all that testing and all that things going on, how is something like, I think we mentioned it before, like a bino, on a binocular able to crash or cause a crash?
So that is a funny one. If I do recall it correctly, this issue was flagged back in April. Nevertheless, it only happened once. Due to the reason that you need basically 4K monitor connected to a certain kit, and then it pops up. And yes, once it certainly popped up, due to it only happening once, we haven't had the connection in between the crash happening, as well as it being connected to 4K monitor, which is why we were not able to actually follow up with that. And basically then once it were out and we got the reports, then of course we saw that there was not only a correlation but also causation in between this particular crash and 4K resolution. So yeah,
Lots of different setups.
Lots of different setups, and basically, once again, it is basically the amount of data we have. And in this case, we had one singular data point, which of course isn't sufficient.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, as I think we hit a lot of the basic in terms of, I know like a lot of people have been asking as the chat has been going here about Xbox performance, fix the crashes. I see that a couple of times. But I think it is a good point to just kind of open it up to the community and general questions. And I know we've already received some, but in sense of also it's something like this, are we planning to add anything for like a GitLab or GitHub integration with our workbench? Do you know?
That's on the Fusion team. That's not on me. I don't know.
Anyone want to answer that one?
You probably could vibe code the plugin for that.
Yeah.
If you really want.
Okay.
But I don't know if we are having plan for that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely already seen some about is the current vehicle system not going to be the final? I think no, we've already answered that. It's definitely still being worked on.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot more tweaks, integrations before the final hits. So we have, let's see, we have a bunch of questions. Okay. Sorry, we're just looking through them. So I guess, we already answered on the idea of why we did this and why they did this update. Ultimately, let me just see what we can get here. Anything? Actually, a good one that has been popping up quite a bit is, are we going to get more official legacy servers? We kind of already mentioned a bit about, improving our server allocations and trying to get increased numbers on our servers. But do you have anything to say for that?
To be honest, I would prefer to not have any legacy servers. I would prefer everyone to play HQC. So what I'm thinking about and what we as a team may be looking into is how can we tweak HQC rule sets to make it a bit more approachable for people which play legacy, so we can actually merge those and we don't have to distribute two different types of servers. Of course, we always been looking at, always wanted to have this configurable. If you are running your community server, you should be able to run whichever version you need. You should be able to turn on or off certain features in the config or certain rules. But for official servers, the less types there are, the easier it is for us to host big servers, have a lot of them and have them populated. So this distinction between legacy and HQC is actually bothering me slightly. We will be looking at how can we merge those different concepts a bit more together. I'm sorry if that's not the answer you looking for.
Yeah. I mean, I know one question that I think we see throughout our comments and things like that, or some concern that might require Natasha to answer as well. But is Arma 4 a test bed for Arma, Arma Reforger a test bed for Arma 4? In the sense that, is everything exactly that we see right now, gonna do it?
I can start.
Okay.
I can start. Okay. So We always wanted Reforger to be a game. It's not a test app. It's not a test bed. It's not a prototype of anything else. It's a game on its own. We wanted it to be a worth continuation of Arma series. Something which Arma 3 people which played Arma 3 and love it, would enjoy because we made the performance better, because it looks better, because it has bigger scale. Maybe it doesn't have, maybe it's not as wide as Arma 3 as for the amount of features and content and assets, but we wanted to make it deeper, more realistic, fix some issues which Arma 3 couldn't ever fix because of this backward compatibility, for example, which was mentioned. So from that perspective, I believe Arma Forger is a game, and it's very important for us to kind of treat it this way. It's its own thing. On the other hand, we are using the same engine as other projects which are being developed in Bohemia. We learn things, and those lessons are being passed to other teams. People which worked on Reforger may be now working on new projects in Bohemia, for example Arma 4. So in some way, yes, it is a test for whatever happens later, and often the work which we do now will be valuable for those projects later. You may not recognize it now, you may recognize it in few years from now, but it is invaluable. The technology changes, the feedback which we are getting, the communities which we are building, all of this is very valuable for future. That doesn't mean that Arma 4 will be exactly the same thing as Reforged, just a bit more, for example. Many of our lessons led to rethinking of how we approach features or technology. So it is not one-to-one. Arma 4 is a separated project. It remakes a lot of things that we did in Reforger a bit differently. I think some time ago I was saying Reforger is basically like a Pathfinder Special Forces scout team. We go first, we recon by fire, we find out where are the problems. So then a main force behind us has a bit easier path, easier way.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, is any other thoughts on the over that? Now you're good. All right. So, also, I see that we were already answering some questions in here, so you seem to be following on. I know that one question related to the latest update, also, or like some of the crash rate with Linux. Can you address any of that?
Yes. One question which I read, which is related to that, is a question of why we are not basically releasing the same version on experimental and then on stable. We did, just so you know. And basically, it's certainly also the plan to also continue with it in the future. And basically, that the last experimental build is the first stable build, so that basically modders can actually adapt and then their stuff works. What we are talking about with basically Linux crash, basically is a very basically specific thing which makes the Linux server crash when there are basically two mods overwriting the same config or file. This unfortunately is an edge case which we didn't catch. If I recall it correctly, we already have a fix in the pipeline for that.
I would hope so.
Yeah, at least from what I recall, so that hopefully will be public soon. But some setups, some basically edge cases just basically fall through. When I basically look at my time in basically Antistasi, it was quite different. Antistasi mod Arma 3. Basically, whilst we are working on Antistasi, what we had to test was only the basically very, very thin slice of the cake, which we made ourselves, based with all the basically ingredients coming from Arma 3 in itself. Right now, we are in quite a different situation in which we are the basically baker in the kitchen. We have, let's say, 2-3 ingredients. Nevertheless, what we can't see is the whole recipe. Basically, player or somebody in the community is basically using for his server, for his setup. And it's basically every single mod added to the recipe, of course, changes the outcome. Nevertheless, we still try to anticipate what the recipe might be in the end, so that we can adapt our testing. Nevertheless, lots of them is basically, unfortunately, guesswork. So
Yeah. I mean, there's
somewhat different perspective.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to look for, lots of things to, consider in terms of that. But also, I mean, I know another big thing that people, we were talking a little bit about Linux, but Xbox, I know there's some, we're fully aware of stutters, some freezes that are happening, some things we tried to address in this last update, but also, for future things, anything you can touch on, specifically the Xbox side of things on crashes and freezes?
Well, for the freezes, I think this is one of the most annoying thing. They started happening around 1.6. We identified probably like between 5 to 10 different things that can affect it, and we've been fixing them one by one, basically. I've seen feedback from Xbox players that it got better, that the amount of freezes they encounter is a lot less. Your particular experience may vary, so please let us know. What is hard here is that because it's very wide open game, there are multiple aspects. There is audio, there is rendering, there is memory optimization or consumption. There are multiple aspects which can affect how Xbox is processing the data and what can cause the freeze. And we are not 100% sure that we know all of them. So we are still investigating, still playing the detectives, trying to find out what is the remaining problem which can cause those freezes. It should be better in 1.7. If your experience is different, please let us know on a feedback tracker, preferably with context. So what was happening? Was it a helicopter? Which helicopter? On what map? How much of it? I've seen few videos posted here and there, which helps, which gives us some information. But the more information you give us, the easier it will be for us to identify those problems and fix them. So I'm really sorry we didn't fix those freezes fully. I'm upset about it. I'm often, shouting at people. Don't want to mention exactly how, but yeah, it's one of the more annoying things out there right now.
And talking about the feedback tracker, I did see one comment on the chat here about like how is it possible that things from maybe a year ago that were put on the feedback tracker still aren't resolved or addressed? How are things still sometimes like not continuously? Why do we?
So feedback tracker.
Put you on the spot. Yeah.
Yes.
We're doing tough questions today.
So basically, normally when a ticket is being created by a player, at first what we do is that somebody within the QA teams looks into that and obviously tries to replicate it if possible. Sometimes it can be replicated, sometimes it can't. Basically, if it then gets replicated, the next step is a task ticket, which of course is put on the devs. Therefore, technically things are in the pipeline. Nevertheless, game dev is quite complicated, as we heard so far, and therefore basically lots of tickets basically might be outdated after a time and have to be rechecked and or basically slight changes might be having an influence on the repro, etc. Which is why we have to sometimes put quite a bit of time into even making sure that the devs know what exactly they have to approach. Nevertheless, we certainly are actively looking at feedback tracker, looking at Discord, partially looking at Reddit, etc. We certainly are taking the feedback from the community into account, and there certainly are lots of people like myself who are from the community who really know how annoying it can be to sit on the other side and then write a report and then see the ticket still open after half a year, 1 year. Been there, done that. But we certainly try to look at everything, try to replicate it, and try to fix whatever we can so that you have a product which is round and usable and stable.
Yeah, I mean, I can attest to the idea that like we are looking everywhere, not just feedback tracker, not just our sources, but we, I'll actively go out and talk with people about different features. We'll collect reports from certain communities and modders, everything that we can to help identify things. But the more data, like I said, you guys send us, the better in terms of what we can do to make things better and also adjust if needed. But I guess going on to the idea of features again, there is something about someone asked about, are we gonna ever get first person perspective only servers? I know that we have like things like periscopes that are missing, and mirrors. This you want to touch on that at all? Or
Yes, as soon as we have the mirrors and periscopes working, then we can do full first-person perspective servers. We did add the new setting, which is basically forced first-person perspective for soldiers, and then for drivers you are allowed to use third person. Those settings are right now in game. Your community server can use them. I don't think we officially have any servers run with those settings yet. This is because we've been busy doing other stuff like responding to the critical issues.
Yes.
But we'll get there. We will look at the server configuration and try to figure out some servers that have those settings enabled for you.
Gotcha. And also, someone asked, I saw this, that is Fog of War at all planned for HQC? Talking about the future here.
Okay, so the Fog of War is a wide topic. It's about recon. It's about what data you get shown on your map. We've been discussing this a lot when HQC was implemented, when it was developed. The current version is not the ideal one, but it is somewhat balanced between how difficult it is to find out about enemy bases. I think we are using radio range basically. We would like to have a bit more there, but it really depends on how much time we can invest in it. And to be honest, as you see, we have to prioritize our work better. Okay, there are issues which we are poking at. There are performance, there are crashes, there are particular problems that needs to be solved sooner than Fog of War. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it may happen, it may not happen. I cannot promise anything. Thank you for the feedback.
Yeah, it's a lot of priority things.
Yes.
And yeah, that's what we're here to talk about. I know, going back a little bit to QA,
Yes.
there was a question about how effective on the idea of submitting that feedback, like things like the internal bug report system, like if the crash report system on PlayStation and things like that, how helpful is that data for in terms of QA and things like that?
The more data we have, the better, 100%. We can only act upon what we see, and basically what we see has to be clear. So when we have just a small amount of samples, what we see isn't really correlating maybe, and it might have not a perceivable significance. So more data equals better. It's
Yeah.
very easy. More tickets, more crash data. Just please keep it coming.
Yeah. Anything you would suggest for what would be the most useful for them when they're submitting some of that feedback or those issues?
Give us basically retro steps if you can. What kind of hardware you have, what kind of basically GPU driver you maybe have, if it is a render issue. For example, what kind of mods are you using, what kind of environment were you in, basically was it more close quarter combat, was it more vehicle versus vehicle? Maybe if you have a small recording, I know if you have shadow play running or something like that, if we could have the, I know, last 20-30 seconds of what was happening, it might contain some indicators so that we have some pointers we could use to replicate the topic. So yeah, the more we get, the better. We need data.
I would say don't assume that it's obvious what is happening.
Yes.
Okay, it's never obvious. There are so many different ways of playing the game, of enjoying the content, or what mods you're having, what did you do. Even sometimes people go like, "Oh, I just dragged, I picked a weapon and something happened." In what way you pick the weapon? There are like three or four different ones.
Yeah.
Be very specific, be very precise when you provide the feedback. It helps. We instead of trying different versions and different ways how we can get to your problem, we know exactly what led to it. Repro steps, what Marcus mentioned, is a gold. Is a gold of for programmers and developers generally, because that is 1, 2, 3. That's what happened. That's what I did. That's how I arrived on that problem. If you have crash and you have this window, crash report, you can click OK, send the crash report. That's awesome. That's already is information and data. But if you can add more information into the text box out there, I was using binoculars, I'm on
Yes.
PS5, I'm on 4K monitor. That's very useful. That helps us. Even if you're not sure which information is relevant or not, sometimes we are not sure either. That's part of the investigation. Put as much as you can. Put all the context. Don't assume that we can figure out and things are obvious and that we will know for sure what is happening for you. Give us as much information as possible.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're coming up on the time, a little bit closer to closing out here. So if you guys have any last questions or you want to ask, keep putting them in the chat here. But yeah, any other thoughts while you have them on that you want to discuss? I see pointing.
Please give data.
Yeah, obviously. But like we said, everything helps. Thank you for putting it in the chat. I saw somebody put the links for that. But I mean, obviously, like we said, we are doing our own tests, we are doing our own play sessions. But it really is a win-win for everyone when they submit stuff to us. It helps the future of the projects and beyond. So. But yeah, I think I see also a lot of questions about modders and like the modding side. Obviously, every update we've already kind of talked about can have a contingent or a problem or consequence rather of breaking some things. How much do we kind of think about modders when we do an update? Like how much goes into testing with mods or even checking to make sure that isn't going to destroy everything?
Well, so company-wide, we have a modding department. So we have people which are responsible for communication with modders to see at the updates and look at the changes in it and try to describe them better for modders so they can update their mods, testing the mods, finding out issues, suggesting the solutions, all of this good stuff. But also we need to consider those are few people against hundreds of modders out there and thousands of possible combinations of those. So it is kind of fighting a big battle against like bigger forces. As for testing with mods, we're doing our best. What can you say, Marcus?
Yes, we certainly are testing with mods. Nevertheless, that certainly is something which we even want to improve over time. basically have some basically internally hosted larger playtests with mods, etc. One basically number which I am able to give, which is somewhat related, as it also contains basically crashes which are regarding mods. Since 1.6, we have fixed and closed 114 different crash tickets, which of course are vanilla game as well as mod specific. So we certainly are trying to close them and get rid of them, but some of them are pesky and pop up in a slightly other way again. So it is a constant war, but we have a lot of ammunition and we keep fighting.
So what's next? What? Yeah. You want to say? Step on in.
Because I've seen few, and
You wanna
especially
answer?
for testing the mods, I can tell you that, namely, I've had one person from my team who spent a lot of time porting the whole RHS to experimental, so we can run and test it internally. So it's not like we ignore it, it's just a lot of work to make it run as well, but we do that. We've had internal playtests, including RHS, where we've run it with that. There was also one question, which was another roadmap for Reforger, and I sincerely hope not. That's my answer.
Yeah, they're forcing me to not make any roadmaps anymore. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry, no roadmaps.
No
We'll-
roadmaps.
We gotta know.
What's that next? Will we see boats in Reforger?
Yeah.
No.
Probably.
Tracked vehicles?
Yeah, I've seen the tractor. I've seen the tracked vehicles. I've seen the. Yeah, that's my next question is like, what's next? Now that we got this update,
Are we finishing this live stream already? Are we getting to the end of it?
I mean,
Yeah.
we can close it out, right? But yeah, I guess now that this update's out, what's the next plan in terms of where do we go from here?
So we have some big plans for this year. We have multiple big objectives that we want to realize. We cannot speak about those objectives. We cannot tell you what exactly it is, but there are some interesting things in there. He's working on one. Another guy is working on another one. The whole teams are working on those. Tracked vehicles are coming. Okay, I'll put it this way. Tracked vehicles are coming. Okay? Let's just put it this way. One of the reasons for it is that because we are sharing the engine with other projects in Bohemia, it is important for pushing the technology forward and having it ready for future, especially for Arma 4. There will be one tracked vehicle in Reforger. It will bring the technology, it will bring the visualization of tracks. You know what vehicle is this, I don't have to say it. It will come when it's ready. So yeah, I guess at least some good news we can give to you.
Yeah.
There was also the question where the Pharma Reforger is going, right? But I can calmly say that I know absolutely nothing about the tractor going to Reforger.
Yeah, we need pharma, but
That would be cool.
Well, M113, you guys already found the data in it, and that's all you know.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's a wreck, right? You know.
There is a wreck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah,
wreck.
yeah.
But yes, I think any last thoughts from all of you guys, if you have any?
Oh, there's a funny one. Can you make the little islands around Everond and Kolguev useful and put bases on them?
They
We
are.
have it with one, and half of the people absolutely hates it, and half of the people absolutely loves it.
Yep.
So it's kind of difficult.
Yeah, there is a one island
Yes.
on Everon which is actually have two bases. There is a harbor and it's actually objective base, and swimming there takes around 35 minutes. Don't ask me how I know.
So how do you know? No. Just double checking to see if we got.
Any ideas when Klamacz action figure will be out? I don't know, but when it is, I have to buy it.
I want to say something, but I won't.
I also saw something about the pillow with Klamacz, and well, I hope they sell in
Stop.
package.
Yeah, we're all right. All merch ideas will be considered another time, but I'm just double checking to see as we go through here. I don't know if we want to adjust that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess like I said, any last thoughts you want to say to the community in regards to like I said, the update in the future? You've already given your
I think historically we've been in the worst moments. If you've been there with us when we released in early access, the whole road from early access to 1.0, kicks and crashes and multiplayer stability, mostly that was a lot of work which we had to put into it, and in some way we will continue doing this. So you have crashes or freezes on Xbox, you have performance issues on different platforms. Please keep sending us the data. We keep working on those. We'll keep patching the game. 1.7 will release few patches. There is one which we will be submitting basically very soon, and then we'll be working on another set of fixes. So we don't stop. We don't give up on you. Don't worry about that. And 1.8 is also in the works already. We cannot really say what is in. Those are smaller things. We will be doing slightly smaller features and content now. We're not gonna be pushing new terrains or new vehicles. Well, beside. 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 But we still want to improve the game and create new angles and new ways for you to enjoy it. So stay tuned, I guess.
anything you want to say?
Are we gonna get seasons? No.
Microtransactions? No.
No, yeah, definitely not.
No, I think it was like seasons like winter, summer shit.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
well, we do have
No.
autumn on Kolgu.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
This
guess-
technically a season.
Yeah.
No.
Anything on our sideline here? Do you want to step in and say for a closer?
Thank you for your patience and your time, and
Bye. We're going to work now.
Again, thank you everyone who came. I know there's a lot more questions that you guys have. We'll do our best to address them in the, whether our posts or in the future articles. But again, we do want to say that we see your guys' feedback, we see you guys' your comments, and we will try to do our best our ability to address as much as we can in future updates and things like that. So stick with us. Again, we thank you for support. I know I want to give a shout out to because we mentioned it, the modding team, which is Horrible Goat and Mario. Thank you very much for them. But again, thanks for doing it. We will hopefully see you in the future update and details. Watch our socials. And I'm Nillers. Thank you. See you on the battlefield.
Tak jo. Přišel nám zajímavý dotaz od kapitána Nicholse, amerického pilota sloužícího tady na Maldenu. Zřejmě si chce procvičit češtinu. No tak to hodně štěstí. Nicméně, kapitána by zajímalo,